Hello, welcome to 8.9 News. I'm ffinlo Costain. Today's headlines: the Big Nature Impact Fund, seeded with £30 million from DEFRA, aims to boost England's biodiversity. Collaboration is the key to managing water in the Brecon Beacons mega-catchment. And Morrison's targets net zero with downforce technologies. Full stories at 8.9.com. The Beacons Water Group is working alongside Welsh Water to trial farmer-led approaches to water management in the Brecon Beacons mega-catchment. Keri Davies is a fourth-generation organic farmer in the Brecon Beacons and a director of the Beacons Water Group. I asked him to tell me more.
Well, the Beacons Water Group is a CIC company. It's an amalgamation of 6 farmers working alongside Welsh Water to trial practical projects, farmer-led projects from the bottom up. It's not Welsh Water's prescriptive saying we would like to see these outcomes. It's what us as farmers think we can change the way we use our land effectively to save nutrients going down the river and to maintain the clean drinking water. The Brecon Beacons is a mega catchment. It's supplying 50% of Wales's population its drinking water, and that's why they were taken out to New York. Me and Richard, chair of Beacons Water Group, along with Nigel Elgar, Welsh Water, were taken out to New York for 3 weeks to try and understand what it is that 9 million people can drink their water unfiltered and how land use can protect that precious resource.
Now, you talked about there being a CIC, a community interest company, and I wonder why you chose that particular structure. Be interested in that, and also how that relationship with Welsh Water works, whether it's more you trying to sort of inform Welsh Water about good ways of doing things, or whether it's vice versa, or a combination.
Well, it is a combination. It's definitely a two-way street. The CIC, we were lucky enough in Wales to have a Welsh Government representative to come and speak to us about several forms of companies. And we looked hard at which company would fit our profile the best. And a CIC company was chosen. And interestingly, it's one that Welsh Government actually recognises now as the model of choice, really, that if a group of farmers can come together, forming a CIC company allows you to have a charitable status that absolutely is, it has a chair, it has a secretary, it has minutes. It's a formulation of a company that is good enough and prescriptive enough to draw down funding from the outside to try and create these roles that will effectively change the way we use land and safeguard drinking water as well.
And what sort of activities is it that the group's trialling and supporting?
Well, it's varied. We've done. We were lucky enough to win an EIP, European Investment Programme, £40,000 fund. Hugh was instrumental. Hugh Martinet, very, very skillful on carbon. So that was measuring the carbon in our soils, and that was GPS tagged as well. So we can go back in 5 years to see how much we've increased that by zero cell grazing. And with the sequestration, we measured the sequestration in our hedgerows. So we're adopting a 3-year hedge trimming policy under the glass tier programme that we're involved with the Welsh Government. And then we're applying LiDAR measurements to understand how much woody density biomass is incorporated over and above the normal hedge trimming profile. Then we've gone on to set up a nutrient management plan to try and understand what resources we've got, and to be credible, we've got to adhere to this plan where we will keep 9 meters away from watercourses, and also to be verified by a farmer group profile. Quite interestingly, in New York, farmers scored that at the end of the year themselves against farmers, but in a different area. And that gives the credibility of farmer not being inspected by a NRW type approach, but more farmer being peer pressure to make sure that we're doing it correctly. And if we do administer all our nutrients in the right place, we then have a nutrient credit that we can go on to lime fields or air mass to lift air into the profile of the soil, various options, cross drains to make sure the water is being maintained in farm tracks, all those sort of innovative things, really.
Now, you've talked there, Keri, about the role that good water management can have in terms of nutrient cycling, in terms of soil productivity and carbon. But what difference can good water management make for individual farm businesses themselves?
Really, really good question. I think this is the future, really. If we're going to rely totally on farm subsidies, we're going to be always on the back foot. And collaboration is definitely where the key is to the catchment scale approach. Not just at one individual farmer acting on his own, but a whole catchment scale. So we're lucky enough to be, Richard and I have been asked from the Beacons Water Group to set up a CIC company type approach to the Usk River. It's badly failing in nutrient loading. And we're adopting the same principles we've learned from a CSE company, Beacons Water Group, and trying to influence this cross-party organisation to make sure that we've got a plan, a 3-year rolling plan to really radically reduce the amount of nutrients go down. So this you ask a simple question: how much financial benefit do we see individually? It's the strategic plan over a long term where we can visualize us minimizing a Storm Dennis type event by 30 minutes and saving 700 homes in Newport from going under. Those insurance companies would be interested in the impact. If we could be credible about the data gathering, they would be interested in financing projects up in the upper streams of the Usk to minimize the impact on Newport City, which then also brings a whole new funding stream back to the business. So it's a bit of an unknown, but at the same time, we're fairly confident that we can get some data that will prove relevant to the security of insurance companies being able to say we're credible for that 30 minutes that we demand on high water events.
And are you also finding that by better managing the water, you're able to reduce the disease risk associated with livestock, or perhaps help with the productivity of your grass?
Well, yeah, we're starting to work with growing for the environment. So we've just, first of all, 40 years ago, there was no corn in this valley. We've been growing corn organically for the last 8 years. This year we've grown peas, so we're fixing nitrogen from the atmosphere. We're big into red clover lays, and interestingly, we've just partnered with IBES University and Welsh Water to set up a productive buffer zone project. So we've got 9 trial plots set over 2 years to look at water infiltration through different types of crops. I have red clover, control perennial ryegrass, and phacelia as my 3 trial plots. All 6 farmers have chosen a different type grass to have the 9th trial on. And we'll be measuring how much water these different root systems can infiltrate into the soil, how much more water we can hold in our soils. And by doing that, also, if our carbon stocks are rising, it's something like 250 tonne of water per hectare increase for every carbon stock. So it's not small amounts of water we're talking about,
That was Keri Davies from the Beacons Water Group. More about this and our other headline news on our website, 8point9.com. That's all for now. We're back next week. Thanks for watching.